I have vivid memories of this place that don't ever go away. It takes me back every time I drive by this location, because I drive up and down at least 2-3 times a week. 30 years ago, I came here with Ken, my dad. My dad had sent me downstairs to go wait in the truck. Unfortunately, I had to go to the bathroom. And I held it as long as I could, and I finally decided to go upstairs. If I would have never had to go to the bathroom, I would have never walked back upstairs and never seen anything. This was the first time I had ever seen a dead body that was not in a casket. That's something that I can never get out of my head. Every time I go to sleep, I picture things along these lines.
So why'd you kill her?
I didn't.
Yes, you did, Ken. Again. As I told you before, evidence says you did.
Well, take me to court for it then.
The stuff he did was stuff that would give most people nightmares for the rest of their lives. There's lots of people that didn't believe me. Lots of people thought I was joking. And they waited way too long, and too many people got hurt after that. I wouldn't have believed a kid either. But they should have. I was born in Cleveland, given up for adoption. I was adopted at birth by my mom, Kathy. When I turned about 7 years old, she introduced me to the man she was planning to marry, and that was Ken. Not long after, we were sitting at the kitchen table, and I had heard some stories through church about Ken, and that he wasn't the greatest person.
Matt? Come sit down a minute.
My grandpa and my mom told me that Ken had went to prison. He had been convicted of a murder charge. I was told that he had ran away from home at 18 years old, and he had needed cash. Found somebody robbed him. The robbery went bad, and the gentleman that was robbed lost his life.
It was a long time ago. He didn't mean to kill anyone, and he's sorry for what he did.
My grandpa said that Ken had made a bad choice and that people make mistakes, and that's why it was okay to give him a second chance.
And we all have to learn how to forgive.
Ken served his time, 15 years. Just like anybody else, Ken deserves a second chance. And since he was out, then apparently other people thought he deserved a second chance as well.
Do you understand?
Yes.
So to me, being little, for him to be out, then in my head, he had done something to deserve to be out. There's lots of times I don't think Ken should have ever got out of prison the first time. If he wouldn't have got out of prison the first time, there would have been a lot of people that were saved. This was the kitchen table at the 7th Street home, and he was actually teaching me how to play 500 rummy. This was the kitchen table we were sitting when I first remember getting choked. One of the first positive memories I have of Ken was the card games. But it didn't take long after meeting my dad for me to start seeing other sides of him that not everybody saw. One afternoon, we were sitting down at the kitchen table, and he started to tell a story about getting into a fight in prison.
So the next thing you know, I have 3 guys have me cornered.
He had gotten jumped by 3 people, and he used a broom handle to defend himself and killed those people while he was in prison. I laughed at him and thought it was kind of like, yeah, right. And then the next thing I know, I got a hand around my throat.
Are you calling me a liar?
He choked me and said, "Don't ever call me a liar." And I do remember hearing that over and over, "Don't call me a liar." My mom made him stop, and he never touched me like that ever again.
God, what are you doing, Ken? Are you crazy?
He never laid his hands on me, but I've also made sure to never insinuate or call him a liar, whether I believed him or not. He liked to tell a lot of stories, and sometimes the stories became very wild. And I just, whether I believed the story, didn't believe the story, I never said I didn't believe him, because I knew how he would react if I called him a liar. He loved to teach me everything. I mean, he taught me how to hunt, trap, shoot guns. He taught me how to do plumbing, electric, construction. He taught me everything that he could possibly teach me. Ken always felt that hunting and trapping was important. He had built a trapping room on the side of our garage, and he hung the animals in the back. And this was the first time I had ever went actually with him to trap beaver. And this was one of the beavers that we brought back. Sometimes going in the room bothered me, seeing some of the animals just hanging there. There was always animals either hanging in there or caged in there. This photo was taken about a year after the incident with the possum. We were out trapping one day, and there was a very large possum that had its legs stuck in a trap. And he had his pistol.
He's still alive. Here, give me a stick.
But instead of just shooting the animal that was in the trap that day, he decided to take his little wooden, he called it his beater, but it's just basically a little wooden club. He smacked the possum the first time, and he kind of laughed because it didn't die. He just continued to hit it over, and then he'd wait, and he'd do it again. And it would either move or twitch or it tried to stand up, and it would breathe, and he'd hit it again. And he'd back away again, and he'd laugh, and he's like, this thing won't die.
Look, he's fighting. He's fighting.
The entire time he's hitting the possum, he looked demented. His eyes were blank. He had a really weird smile on his face. I would say it was a sadistic smile. I've never seen him smile like that before. I'd seen him kill animals before, but that possum was just, I don't know. He looked like he was enjoying it. It had to be 5, 10 minutes when it could have just been ended in a matter of seconds.
Let's go.
Once the possum was finally dead, he handed it to me, and I had to carry it back to the truck.
Let's go.
It was upsetting. I've never seen him like that before, and I never understood it. But as I thought back about it, I thought, he had told me the story at the kitchen table about beating people with a broom handle, and then I saw him beat a possum with his little beater, as he called it. And that was the first time in my memory that I thought maybe that story was completely true. I started to believe his stories more after that one. Ken always had guns, but he wasn't allowed to own a gun, being that he was in prison and he was a felon. That's why he always had them hidden. Ken had guns hidden under a fish tank he made. He had an old vintage Coke machine that had guns hidden in it, guns under the bed, guns in his trucks. His favorite gun was a 9x18 9mm. That gun traveled with him everywhere. I remember the first time he actually cleaned his gun in front of me. He would wipe off each round as he put it in the clip. He would have gloves on,
Here.
so his prints weren't on the bullets. He told me every time I touched a gun to make sure I wiped it off completely.
You never want to leave your prints on a weapon.
And I was fascinated because I was listening to him tell stories.
Even when you got gloves, you can't take that chance.
He started to tell me about his past and stuff that he had done. Being a problem solver was his words for it. In Ken's own words, a problem solver was a hitman.
And when people ask me to solve their problems, this is the one I use.
And he claimed to be a problem solver for a few families.
But there are rules.
There were many jobs that he claimed to have done, many situations that he's claimed to have solved. I can think of probably 15 stories, at least. If he said he had a problem to take care of, he would disappear. He'd be gone for a few days. He'd come back a little bit different. He'd be a little more closed off.
Now get out of here. I'll be back in a few weeks.
I had seen movies that have had hitmen, so I had the basic idea of what a hitman was. I remember back then when I was little, I wasn't 100% sure. As I got older, I completely believed that he did that. He was a killer. When I first met Ken, we used to go to garage sales all the time. If there was a garage sale, he'd stop. Because he got me home, dropped me off, and he left me there. He left me at home for about an hour. He came back and picked me back up. And then we went back to the garage sale. The drafting table was already outside the garage, which wasn't where it was when we were there earlier. And he said that it was mine.
Wait here. I'm going to get the table.
There was nobody else at the garage sale. I did not see the woman at the garage sale any longer. I thought he went back, and I thought that maybe he went over there, negotiated, got it. I mean, he's persistent, so I didn't think anything of it.
Hurry up. Come help me. Hurry up.
The only change I noticed in Ken when we went back would be the fact that he was in a hurry. As soon as he came out of the garage, it was, it's time to go. We got to go. Let's load it. And we didn't even strap it down, which we always strap stuff down. We loaded the drafting table up and we left. And I remember when he drove home a different way than we drove the first time. Within a matter of a couple days, the cops were at our door. And they're questioning him about somebody dying because somebody recognized the car at the house. The woman was dead. I didn't know who until later on. It might have been a couple years before I realized that the two were connected. Looking back now, I know he's the one that did it. And I know the cops know he did it. But the cops can't prove it. I was only at home, at the most an hour. And somewhere in that hour window, I believe she lost her life. I feel that me asking for the table is what cost her her life. And that's, that's something that I've lived with for, 30 some years? I want to say I'm sorry. I feel totally responsible. Totally. 100%. If I wouldn't have said it, then that wouldn't have happened. And I don't think I've ever admitted that out loud. Ken always did odd jobs for everybody. He'd do everything from plumbing to work on bars, to do roofs, build garages, rip stuff down, move people. He often brought me along just to help him out. When I was 12, maybe 13 years old, Ken took me along to another job. This time we were helping a friend of his, Patty, move some furniture from one apartment to another. Ken was the maintenance man for that building. We had taken some stuff up already, and Ken says, go ahead and wait in the car. I'll be down in a minute, and we'll get finished up.
This looks like the last of it.
I went down in the car and sat there. 5, maybe 10 minutes. I ended up having to go to the bathroom. So I got out of the truck, which I was told not to do. And I walked up the steps to the new apartment. I turned right to go in the door. I turned the door handle, and I saw her laying there. I saw her bloody and naked. I knew she was dead, but I didn't know what had happened. I'd just seen her 10, 20 minutes earlier. I've tried to block this memory out as much as possible through the years, but I remember I screamed. I screamed and screamed. He put his hand over my mouth and he forced me down the steps. My feet were barely touching the steps as I was going down them. He got me out as fast as possible.
What's going on?
I kept asking what happened, and I was told there was an accident. That's all I was ever told.
You understand?
I was told to say I was never there. As soon as I got home, I told my mom. I don't think my mom believed it. I think my mom was blinded to everything going on. My mom still tells me to this day that if she realized what was going on, she would have stopped it a long time ago. I remember being told that I pretty much didn't see what I saw. The cops were there to talk to him that day. The cops asked me if I was there, and I was told to tell them no. If I would have said yes, maybe the cops would have found a way to question me, but all of a sudden it was dropped. I mean, they didn't question him anymore. Once again, there was no evidence. Between the police releasing him, between everybody telling me that, you didn't see it, you weren't, maybe I'm the one that was seeing it wrong. Rationalizing what I saw, I kept trying to tell myself that it was like maybe she fell, it was an accident. When she was getting out of the shower, she fell and got hurt, and he laid her there. I doubted myself for a very long time. The yellowish tan brick building behind me is where Patricia was killed. She didn't deserve what Ken did to her. She was one of the nicest women that I've ever met. I was joking around with her on the first trip up the stairs. Everything seemed to be fine, and next time I walked up, she was just laying there. We came out the open door right there to the left of the electric meters, and we got into the vehicle right here in the middle of what would have been in the middle of the white brick building, and we left. I believe what happened had to have been quick. At least I hope it was quick. I hope that it wasn't drawn out, and I hope she didn't lay there when he took me away and potentially suffer. I believe he strangled her, and I believe he cut her. But I was turned around so quickly. I mean, I have somewhat of a vision in my head of what I saw, but I was told for a long time that I didn't see what I saw. He just kept saying that there was an accident and we had to get out. I had just seen her, everything was fine moments before. Now you're naked in the middle of the floor. It's not an accident. Ken did a lot of home improvement jobs. He also installed security systems. And Ken had previously installed an alarm system on a home, and he told me I needed to come with him to help him fix a problem that they were having with his alarm. We showed up, and the woman that lived there said she was getting ready to make cookies. We were working on the alarm system. Ken seemed actually relatively happy. I mean, I didn't see any issues. I didn't see anything wrong. I was in the bedroom. He was in the living room, dining room area. And I heard a very loud pop, bang, very loud noise, like extremely loud. I was like, hey, Dad, what was that? I was like, you all right? And he answers back, but I knocked something over and I broke it. He was like, I'll tell you when we get outside.
Keep doing what you were doing.
He was like, just stay there and I'll get done. He finished fishing the thing through the wall. We hooked the wire up and we finished the alarm system and we went to leave. I walked by the room and you could see into the living room. She was in the living room when we left on the couch, ice pack on her forehead.
Don't wake her.
I asked what was going on.
She's not feeling well. She's taking a nap.
He said the woman had a headache and went to lay down. He had helped her make an ice pack.
Here, take this.
He handed me it was his blue handkerchief that he always carried. He had me wipe off the door handle, the alarm panel, the inside and outside of the door as we carried everything out, which I thought was kind of weird. He was like, when you close the door, use your rag. He's like, we don't want to leave dirt marks. He made sure I was the one that wiped it off, and I set the alarm, and I closed the door, and then we left. That was the weird part, was why would we set the alarm with her in the house? Within a matter of 2 days, I had heard it on the radio. I had heard she had died. I had heard she got shot. Apparently, her husband came home and didn't realize that she was deceased at the time. Thought she was just laying on the couch with a headache, and it took him a while to realize that she was gone. Early the next day, once again, the police were at our door. Then it started to click, and I started to realize, hey, something's going on. But once again, nobody believed me. I mentioned it to a therapist that I had had. My therapist pretty much told me that I was exaggerating, that I didn't know what I was talking about, which seemed to always be every adult's answer. There's lots of people that didn't believe me. Lots of people thought I was joking. And I told my mom that I thought he did it. And she thought I was exaggerating. I also talked to Ken, and I asked him why this kept going on. And his response was, oh, it's just BS. Every time that there's a murder in Canton, they come to me. I'm freshly out of jail. And when he said that, I'm like, okay, well, maybe. I wanted to believe him. And I didn't want to think he was capable of something like that.
Are you okay? You got nothing to worry about.
Every few years, the cops were at my house. Every few years, he was accused of murdering somebody. Nothing ever happened. If they hadn't evidence, they would have arrested him, but they never arrested him. If the cops didn't think he did it, then why should I think he did it? Then I heard that the husband got questioned. People were saying, oh, it was the husband. I thought, well, maybe the husband came home and they got into a fight. So I, once again, tried to, in my head, brush it off. A few years after the last incident, Ken got into an altercation with a friend slash business partner, and it wound him back up in prison for about 5 years. By the time Ken got out of prison, my life had changed a lot. Him and my mom were divorced. I was already planning on getting married. Before I met my wife, I had 2 children with a prior relationship. For years, I had been in a really nasty battle over custody of my 2 oldest children, and it really caused me a lot of stress. And Ken was aware of everything that it was causing me. At the wedding, right before we were married, my fiance Mindy came up to me.
You're not gonna believe what your dad just said to me.
And said that Ken had offered to kill my baby's mom as a wedding gift.
Please tell me you're kidding.
She 100% thought he was joking, but I knew it was a real offer because I knew Ken's history, I knew Ken's path.
Babe, he wasn't serious.
Yes, he was.
I came to the realization that I believed he had killed the 3 women prior. When he made that offer at my wedding, I mean, pretty much confirmed everything I had ever thought. And I immediately looked at Mindy and said, I hope you told him no. She giggled and laughed, and she's like, why? He was just joking. I was like, no, he's not. He's dead serious. Please tell me you said no.
What did you tell him?
Of course I said no.
I had no doubt in my mind that if we would have said yes within 2 weeks, that would have been the end of my oldest kid's mom. This was my wedding to my wife. This was about 10 minutes prior to when he offered to, as a wedding present, to kill my ex. He was beyond dead serious. I'm glad my wife said no, but he made that offer here, and hour and a half, 2 hours later, when the wedding's over, he's sitting downstairs sharing his plate of food with my youngest son. It shows exactly what I dealt with the entire time. One minute he would be the guy that was in this picture that made the offer. The next minute he would be one of the nicest people in the world that would give you his shirt off their back. When I saw him sitting there holding my son and feeding my son sausage with my son on his lap, I looked at him and said, there's still a chance to make him a decent person. And I tried, and I tried, and I tried. Fortunately, it didn't work. When I first heard about Linda Smith's death, it was from an article I read in the local newspaper. I had met Linda Smith numerous times. Ken had done odd home improvement jobs for one of her friends. She had been at our home to have many cookouts and parties that Ken had on our property. And the weekend prior to her death, she was at a cookout at our home. I had read that she was murdered, and I had read that it was a gruesome scene. And when I heard the description, somewhere inside of me, I knew it was him. He was just over there. The first time I got to talk to him, he was loading his truck out back. I asked Ken if he had heard about it.
I just heard about Linda.
He was like, yeah, I heard it. He was like, I'm pretty sure they'll be here to question me before long. But this time I wasn't a kid.
You going someplace?
Yeah, I'm going to a buddy's house for a few days. Waiting for this to blow over.
And I said, well, what do you want me to say if they come? Just tell them I'm out of town and you don't know where I am.
I gotta get going.
I had no doubt at all that it was him that had done it. And I wasn't lying for him. I wasn't gonna say, no, I didn't know where you were. I wasn't gonna say you were out of town. I know where you are, I'll say where you are. I couldn't not come forward. I reached out to the police department and said, hey, you need to look at Ken. And they had me come in and they questioned me.
So what makes you think your dad's the one who did this?
And I gave the police details of what I thought happened. She was either strangled with this or this. And I started describing details of the murder scene without ever being there.
You seem to know an awful lot. Sure you weren't there?
And they said that I knew some details that were there that I shouldn't know for being somebody that wasn't there. And they were like, well, how do you know these details? I said, because they match another one.
What other ones?
They had put me on to a lie detector test at that point in time. After a while, they realized that I wasn't lying.
Listen, if you're right, you could really help us out here.
And they asked if they thought I could get him to talk. They said, does he trust you? Will he talk about things in front of you? I was like, yes, he tells me stories all the time.
I'm supposed to see him this week.
That's when they had me wear a wire for the first time. It's 3:53, January 3rd. I'm going to Ferraro's to meet Ken Roth and have a conversation with him. I'm gonna leave the recording on the whole way there, so it's already on and hidden. Every time I wore a wire, I was always conflicted. It was always a toss-up between the guy I wanted to put in jail and my dad. When did they have you back in there again?
The other night, they called me at 8 o'clock in the evening and asked me all the same damn questions.
I went out of my way to try to get Ken to admit to stuff. I tried to get him to talk about Linda, and I tried to get him to talk about the three when I was growing up.
They think it might have been her husband, but they have no proof, no evidence, no nothing. Right now, they're the dead end.
Oh, it's like they weren't all the other ones. I was trying to get anything and everything that the cops could use as leverage to get him to admit to murdering Linda.
The paper said she was strangled.
I never read the paper. I didn't even get to see it. He would have never thought that I would have been the one wearing a wire. Which is why I knew that if anybody was going to get him to admit anything, it was going to be me.
So it had to be somebody that either had keys to that house or knew her real well, because her keys were in the house with her. And yet nothing's missing, they said. All her rings, her jewelry, everything was still there. So it had to be somebody she knew. They asked me if I knew who it was. I said no.
The times I wore a wire, he always had his gun on his hip. Always. So every time that I was sitting there talking to him and he had his gun, I'd think, what would he do if he knew I was wearing it? And I knew he would have shot me. And that kept pushing me back to the reality of, I need to get him to talk. That actually kept me focused on what I was supposed to do. It's par for course. You know how they act. You know how it is.
Oh, yeah. Like I told them, I can play their dumb games as long as they keep playing them.
That was one of the times I wore a wire to try to get him to admit to stuff. I was pushing the issue quite a bit more there than I normally would have. Because I was afraid he would hurt somebody else. I was afraid of what he would do to the next person or how many next people there would have been. I kept fishing for a long time to see if I could get him to admit something. And I think that around that point in time is when he realized, too, that I was up to something. I have no way of knowing for a fact how he found out, but I believe that he found some way to realize that I was talking to the police. And that's when I realized that he was even more dangerous than I thought he was. After I started speaking with the police, I noticed some strange things happening. A truck ran me and my son off of the road next to our home and put us into a ditch. Somebody came in our house and loosened plumbing under 3 different sinks at once, to the point that our house was filling with water. Next night, somebody went and opened all of our house windows. People started disconnecting our car batteries. Then stuff started coming up missing. Like a picture might be moved from one room to another, or a picture of all of us might be gone. Only one other person had a key to our house, and that was Ken. I started to realize that maybe it was a message to shut up. That night, we were all in the living room. We were just kind of hanging out like we always do, getting ready to watch some TV. All of a sudden, I noticed a light, a red dot, shows up on like my chest. It hit me right here.
What the hell is that?
And the light started to move on the wall and towards where my oldest son was. And before it could get to my oldest son, I yelled for Minnie to turn off the light and get down.
Shut off the lights.
I shoved my son to the floor. It wasn't one of those little pens like you shine through somebody's window. I mean, I've seen laser lights on weapons before, and that's exactly what it was. It was not a laser pointer. It was actually a laser sight off of a rifle or a pistol. And I know Ken had one on a rifle, and I know he had a laser sight on a pistol. I was so scared. I don't think I've ever been that scared personally in my life.
Go that way, go. Stay down.
I believe it was Ken that was trying to scare me because I had information and I knew details that nobody else knew. And he knew that. We kept the lights off. I ended up moving everybody into a room that only had one window on it that faced the other direction. That was the night that we decided that we were going to get a U-Haul and leave. We were going to leave everything. I gave up everything, my whole life, my whole career, and moved into a basement for the next 2 years. We didn't tell anybody where we lived. We basically just hid. Got a call from a friend that told me that there was 20 to 30 cop cars surrounding the house, cops everywhere. Ken wound up getting arrested for a weapons charge to where a felon's not allowed to own a firearm. So they arrested him and he was given 2 years in prison. During that time, the investigation into the murder of Linda Smith had picked up. A new sheriff had taken over and was really pushing to make sure Ken did not get out of prison after the 2 years.
So let's go to the 2009 homicide, Linda Smith.
About a year later, he was charged with the murder of Linda Smith.
Tell me about your relationship with her, how you know her.
I did some work for her, put lights in for her, in her basement, GFI, and hauled some furniture for her.
I wasn't sure exactly what leverage they had, but I thought they finally got some leverage to do something.
So why'd you kill her?
I didn't.
Yes, you did, Ken. Again, as I told you before, evidence says you did.
Well, take me to court for it then.
Me and my wife went to the trial every single day, and we sat right behind where Ken's seat was, next to the family of Linda Smith. But I was there to support the family, not Ken.
I just want to know why you did it.
I didn't.
You did.
So, believe what you want.
You were seen at her house, Ken.
I've been at her house quite a few times working.
It was weird hearing his voice after this long. He was never going to admit it. He'd never make it that easy. It angered me that nobody believed me, because if people would have believed me and people would have listened to me over the years and all the times that I had came and told anybody, therapists, anybody, then she would have been alive. I actually did feel validated. I know that it sounds selfish, but I had told people for many years what was going on. And I had so many people that I had been around and grew up around that messaged me and reached out to me on social media, in person, and said, hey, look, I'm sorry I never believed you, but half of me thought I did the right thing, and half of me was like, I just gave up my dad. Lost a lot of family because the family didn't want to admit he did it. I actually had a family member tell me that I should have been grateful and shut my mouth. Can't believe you ratted your dad out. I can't believe you're a snitch. Part of me was saddened because I knew that would be the last time I ever saw him in person. Once he went to prison, I never reached out again. I never attempted to talk to him. I debated writing him letters, but I never did. I wish I would have. I wish I would have wrote him and asked him why and seen if I could get him to tell me why he did what he did. Now that he's gone, I regret it even more because I'll never get the answers that I wanted. I don't think there's enough evidence and enough people remaining alive that were around at that point in time to solve any of those. The only way that the family of those three women will ever know is if they watch me say that I think he did it and that I was there. That's why it's always been important for me to tell my story. I'd like some of the families to have some type of closure. He's never going to be convicted, but I can tell you he did it. And I'm sorry. I should have screamed louder. I should have said something. I did say stuff, but could have maybe done something different. And maybe me telling my story will also potentially lead to other things found, other connections made. I know there were other murders. Every story he told me couldn't have been a lie. I have no doubt in my mind that there's many, many more.
I could hear what was going on. I was right next door inside of the house. I could hear the screaming of the girl. And that's when my heart sunk, because I knew it was Lance. I want to be here and I want to be talking about this. And it's very hard, makes me nervous, and it makes my mind run 1,000,000 miles an hour. Here, this picture here, you could see the rage coming out. You can see the anger in this man. I've seen that look before, right before everything goes drastically wrong. I've seen this look right before he explodes. It was very ugly. There would be no stopping him short of killing him. It's terrible to say. people call him a monster and call him evil, it's probably because it's true. Ooh. This is the most recent picture of my brother Lance in prison. That looks scary right there. I've never seen this. This is that look after he's done something bad. This is that, I really don't give a F or what you do or what you think about it or what the cops plan on doing. That's the look of I do not care about anything in this world. It just looks scary. It just looks empty. I think it's a good thing that he has been caught and locked away. I hate that he actually had to kill someone for that to happen, but it's a good thing that this guy's locked up. He's very dangerous. Very. I've never been able to talk about what it's like to live with my brother. So I was very young when I realized my brother Lance was capable of evil. It was very scary to grow up with. I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. There was me, and I had 3 other brothers, and my mother and father lived with us. And Lance was the oldest. My father was there for us. He was a hard worker. He worked most of his life, and he was not at home all the time. He went to work, and then he went out to do his own thing. My parents, they would go out to the certain club, and they'd play cards almost every day. And Lance was there supposed to be babysitting us. That's when the abusive stuff would happen. Lance had the reign of the house. Everyone looked up to him because he was a star football player. But Lance drank. When he would start to drink, then you would see him kind of turn scary. Everything would get more dangerous. Everything would get more edgy. You either did what he said to do or you're gonna get beat. That's just the way it was. Then there's one time he threw me on the couch. It started off as playful, and then it got into more brutal. He'd subdue you and put pillows over top of you. Lance was a very big guy. He would sit on top of the weight of his whole body on these pillows on top of you till you felt like you were smothered and you couldn't breathe. And I'm telling him, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And he's just sitting on top of you, just laughing, thinking it's funny, You're crying and can't, breathe. It was not funny. Being such a young child, your mind goes right to that. It's instant panic. I was screaming to get up, get off of me, let me up. Once he heard you crying and screaming, then he'd let you up. It was almost as if that's what he wanted to hear. One time for Christmas, my parents got me and my brothers boxing gloves. With the boxing gloves came other kids from the neighborhood being interested in boxing also. They would bring their boxing gloves and we would hold little matches on our porch. It was kind of like a boxing ring. My brother Lance got the idea to hold some boxing matches.
I want to see you guys fight.
It started off as good, clean fun. I had learned a little bit about boxing and my friends didn't know anything about boxing. And sometimes it would get ugly. They would make me box my friends. I had a friend named Frankie that lived down the street. There was no beef between me or him or anything, and Lance just made us box just because we were there. Hey, how about you two get it on this time? My friend knew nothing about boxing, but my brother Lance was like, get him, get him.
Take him out!
And I hit him with a couple good ones. I mean, I could see he wanted to quit. And Lance is standing there by, encouraging you. Beat him. Beat him up. I would do what Lance told me to do. Lance was too scared to say no to. Now, I remember my friend taking off and going home crying that day. He did not want to be my friend too much longer after that. I lost a friend that day. Lance was in his element. He was getting off on this, to see you fight. I'm sure he just liked the violence of it. Lance was always kind of devious, thinking of new ways to do some evil stuff. There was this one morning where I'd woken up and my middle brother was still asleep, and he was laying in the bed. Lance got my parents' shotgun out of the back of the closet, and he said, hey, let's put it on our brother's face. Wouldn't that be funny when he wakes up? I didn't know any better. I didn't know what a gun would do to you, at that time. This is the first time I'd ever held a gun or touched a gun. And the gun was very heavy, it was very big. I actually needed Lance to hold the gun. We both had a hold of it like this. We just tapped my brother on the bridge of his nose with the double-barrel shotgun, like, hey, wake up. And he woke up and his eyes open. He was terrified. When I saw my brother and how terrified he was, it was not funny anymore. The whole time Lance was holding this gun, he had a devious laugh. You heard that laugh, and he was enjoying it. When I think about that now, I feel terrified for my brother and for us. What if that gun would have went off? That'd be terrible to live with. I was so young that it did not even register in my mind the aftermath that could have happened. That's the terrifying thing of it. I didn't even know if it was loaded or not. This particular day, right after school, when I come home and I would play with my little brother, Lance and his girlfriend were arguing in the next room. And we could hear him. He's always arguing with the women, always fighting with his women. And then I heard a gunshot. Lance is supposed to be babysitting me and my little brother at this time. Instead, he's arguing with girls, putting guns to their head. When I heard the gunshot, I just instinctively look up and I could see the bullet go over top of our heads, out one wall and through the other wall. It was chaos, you know, pandemonium, total chaos. And I immediately jumped up and just ran and kicked in the bathroom door, you know, pushed the door open.
Get out!
To see, you know, Lance and the girl in there, the girl screaming, Lance standing there with the gun, I was afraid.
Shut up now!
You know, I was thinking like, oh my God, he shot this girl in her face. But he did not. What had happened, he had shot right by her head. And the gunpowder and all of that hit her in the face and burnt her face. And that's why she was bent over crying like that. She did not say anything. It's like it never happened. You know, there was no consequence for him in that whole situation. What's only fueled the evil things he could do. He had gotten away with that one. When that happened, you just knew in your mind and your heart that he was capable of this. You always kind of had your mind and your heart prepared for what craziness is going to come next. You know? You know, by now he was getting in trouble, getting locked up a lot, drinking a lot. I knew that he was committing burglaries. He would never tell me exactly where and what these burglaries were, but I just knew. There was this one night that my brother Lance and some of his other friends, they just were out late night, and I seen them come home and they went into the garage. So I snuck out of the house to see what they had. I seen that they had 6 or 7 big bags of marijuana. Big trash bags full. There was a part of me that wondered where they got this from, but I knew they had broken in and stole it from someone. And I sat there and watched the whole thing. I'm sure him breaking in had a lot to do with just the thrill of it. He just did it out of pure just adrenaline, just 'cause he could. Just the simple fact of it being the wrong thing to do. I knew they were out doing bad things, but I was just glad that my big brother made it home. I did not want him to get arrested again. Even though I knew it was wrong, I still wanted him to make it home and be safe. Lance broke into the house right next door to our house. And the girl that used to do babysitting and house sitting for him saw Lance going into the window. Someone called the cops. Lance was in the house when the cops came. So he ran down in the basement and barricaded himself down in the basement. Lance was big, he was strong, full of rage, and had no fear. Once they broke through to go get him, he beat them all up, 5 or 6 cops. They can't get him under control. They had to call the SWAT, riot gear. I just remember that day, they all tied him to a stretcher and carry him out. And they carried him out of there, and the neighbors were all looking. It was very embarrassing. I'm not sure what was in the mind of my parents at such a young age. I think they wanted to all just chalk it up to, we're just young. I'm sure that my family was disappointed and a little bit heartbroken. That almost every time after that he got arrested, that's how many cops it took to arrest him. Almost every time. He got arrested a lot after that. By the time this incident happened, it was starting to become the norm. So you just kind of knew in your mind, like, well, you can forget to see him the next year or so. He'll be gone for a year. There was this one day that I was coming home from school. I saw that the police had the whole neighborhood taped off. And what I had learned was my friend who lived up the street, she had been decapitated and dismembered. The whole neighborhood was devastated. We did not ever find out what happened. Even today, murder unsolved. The next morning, I looked at my window, and written in the frost of the window were the words, "You're next." And later on in life, I talked to my other brother, and almost at the same time, we asked the same question. Do you think Lance had anything to do with that back then? When I look back now, I get kind of terrified thinking about it. I could have been killed at, any time. I would have never seen it coming. Knowing what I know of Lance now, it makes me wonder, did he do that murder? Lance might have been bad, but we didn't think he was that bad. We didn't think he was capable of anything like that. We did not think that about him. Looking back now, I question it. Lance had a very secretive side to himself. He'd go off and do devious things by himself. He didn't need a crowd of people or people to follow him. He'd just do it himself. So maybe he could have done it back then. He had done so much wrong and evil stuff. The next criminal step for him was to kill someone. It was the only thing that he had not been caught for. Lance would get drunk and get angry or aggressive. The more he drank, the worse he would get. He would say, "I'm going to kill you," or "I'm going to do this to you," or "I'll do that to you." It was always to the extreme. I would always see the remnants of whatever happened. The bruises and the black eyes, and he would beat her till she was unrecognizable. He would do that a lot. Felt very sad for her also. I felt heartbreaking for her. She was very nice to me. She was a very wonderful person. There was this one day, they were arguing. The next thing I knew, he had thrown her down in the basement and locked the door. The basement was very scary. It was very dark and damp, and we had a rat infestation, and he'd throw you down there with the lights off.
I know you're there, let me out!
I could hear her yelling through the door to let her out. She was like my babysitter. She took care of me. She cleaned for me. She cooked for me. You know, she was kind of like a second mom, actually. So that made it even more hurtful. But I knew what would be waiting if I did let her out. Told her, I said, no, I cannot let you out. Because I knew in the back of my mind, if I let her out, then he'd throw me a beating, a worse beating. I just walked away and was watching TV in the living room. I could still hear her begging for someone to let her out the basement. I just tried to act like it wasn't happening. Yeah, I knew in my heart that I should have helped her, but I just could not do that. I was afraid of Lance beating me. One time, he was upset at his girlfriend. She just had the baby. My parents were telling him to get out of the house. Well, he said, I'll go, but I'm gonna take my baby with me. And my mom was like, no, you're not taking that baby. My dad's a very big guy too, and he has that kind of blind rage himself. You know, you don't want to push him there. He ended up throwing Lance out the door. Well, Lance got a big giant metal rake and came and threw it through this plate glass window we had. You know, that glass went flying everywhere, you know, it just sounded like a bomb went off. And I remember they were called the police on him that night, but he had taken off. We moved different sides of town, north side, east side of Columbus. We moved, but Lance was still living at home. My other older brother that came to live with us had a girlfriend, and it was getting pretty serious. She had moved from another state to stay with my brother. They had a little relationship that went on for a while. She was really good friends with my mother, and she's really good friends with the whole family, you know. We took her in just like she was one of our own. Lance had his eyes on her. Lance was just kind of like that. He kind of had his eyes on everybody. I think Lance stayed pretty clear from her, why her and my other brother were dating, but once they broke up, maybe in his mind, he thought she was fair game. But she did not want him. To some degree, he could control himself. But, you know, once her and my older brother broke up, there was no controlling Lance about that situation anymore. It was beginning to get worse. When he raped her, I didn't understand the nature of the crime, but I knew the person he had done it to. I was still so young, I didn't understand the repercussions of what a rape is. I didn't know this is something that would stick with you your whole life. There was never much discussion about what Lance had done because it was so full of hurt and disappointment. You just knew he was gone and that was it. But as I began to get older, this girl, I would see her once every couple years. And as I began to understand what rape was and all about, every time I would see her, it just kind of made me feel sad for her. You know, it was kind of heartbreaking. I began to understand what that means, to live with for years, that it's forever, you know. It's something that can affect somebody forever, and a lot of bad repercussions can come from it. To be afraid of Lance and at the same time still have love for him as a brother is just, you know, love does strange things, you know. A person that could beat on you and get taken away, you still love them and miss them. So I was kind of conflicted between the two. This was the first time he got locked up for a significant period of time. Everything up to this point was small potatoes. But now he's going to the big house, big crime. This was the first time that we knew Lance had committed rape and was convicted of it. Oh, what craziness is going to come next? Bob and someone introduced him to his wife. Everything was going great for him. I was starting to feel like everything was going to be okay. Him and his wife and my other brothers, they would all come down and see me every once in a while. We'd have, cookouts, bonfires at night, laughing, joking. Felt good, to have my brothers back, where I was feeling for so long that I had lost brothers. All of that bullying stuff, it's all over with now. He called and said he was over this girl's house. Once I got there, he was already asleep. I was trying everything I could to wake him up. I was shaking him, I was screaming at him, I was hollering at him, kept trying to shake him. He would not wake up. It was like he was in a coma or something. He was just asleep. Checked on him the next day. He was still asleep. Came back and did the same thing again. Tried to shake him and wake him. The next day, he would not wake up. Called the next day. He was still asleep. By now, this is 3 days he's been asleep. So I really didn't understand. I thought maybe he was just sleeping a binger off or something like that. But every time I come knock on the door, she's like, he's still asleep. I'd go home, give it a couple hours, I'd call, she's like, I try to wake him up, he's still asleep. I was concerned of whatever it was he went through to be like that. He finally woke up and gave me a call. I rushed right down and got him. I did ask him the night he come to the house, what was going on? What's wrong? What are you doing here? He told me that him and his wife, they got into a fight. Lance said that, he's having some problems at home, and I just basically believed it, you know. It was easy to chalk it up to that. You know, yep, he must just got in a fight and just, you know, getting away from the problem, whatever it was. It did make sense to me then. It sounded like something, you know, it sounded like Lance. He came in like, hey man, hey dog, I gotta go. I didn't understand why he just took off just like that in an instant. He was hanging around for 3 months and then he just leaves just like that. And that actually was it. That was it. No explanations, no anything. I felt like he had used me as soon as he left, you know. Not really a thank you or anything. He was just a quick handshake and tried to walk out the door. So I was just kind of like, whatever, man, just go on. I was hurt. I was hurt by that. Maybe less than a week later, someone from the family called me and was like, hey man, your brother's on the news. I'm like, what? What's he on the news for now, you know? I turned on the news and that's when I seen that the cops had Lance's home surrounded, and the caption on the news story was a SWAT standoff with a murder suspect. And he was accused of murdering 3 women. I was just totally blown away, like, what? Like, you know, they was telling me they'd been looking for him the whole time where he was at my house. I was like, oh my gosh, and I had no idea. Just totally clueless and just blown away. You know, it was the furthest thing from my mind that I thought was going on. So that's when I started to put 2 and 2 together. At the time he had did these crimes and come down, and he was staying at this girl's house and he slept for 3 days straight. It made me concerned about why he slept so much. But knowing what I know now, they call it the murder sleep. That's where you let out all the stress and the strain and the guilt of doing these crimes. That's what happened. So that's why he took off and came to my house, because they had been looking for him to question him about these murders. Just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was like, oh, this is it. He's finally reached the final plateau of crime. Sorry. The investigators came to the house and they asked me the questions, and I said, now let me ask you guys a question. I said, do you really think he did this?
Are you sure?
And one of the investigators, and he turned around with a very serious look. And he looked down his glasses and he said, you think we'd drive 5 hours if we didn't think he did this? Then I knew this was it. Just always seemed like a matter of time, but he was out and doing so well, it was the furthest thing from my mind. I didn't think that would happen. I definitely developed hope that he was past the worst. There were no discussions that I was included in about that. And it was such a bad crime that people were hesitant to talk about it. So I was basically just clueless in whatever was going on. I had no idea what was going on. When he was going to court or exact charges he was charged with, I was in the dark. David Lance Bruce might be spending the rest of his life in prison. A Fairfield County jury of 5 women and 7 men found Bruce guilty of 2 counts of aggravated murder, 1 count of murder, 1 count of kidnapping, and 2 counts of aggravated robbery. The maximum sentence he could be given is life in prison without parole. Wow, what a monster. Bruce's mother is sad about the guilty verdict and that her son is going to prison, but is relieved he didn't get the death penalty. I didn't know my mom was there every day. I didn't know he was on trial for sentence could have been the death penalty. I didn't know. I separated myself from that situation. It makes me very sad for my mother to know that she went through that now, and she was there by herself, you know. I'm sure she went there every day by herself, drove there herself, sat there herself, afterwards by herself, probably cried about it by herself. That's heartbreaking when you think about it. I was just so blown away from it and just wanting to just separate myself from the whole thing that I did not. I did not wonder about the trial. I did not watch it or participate in it. It was just too much. I separated myself from that situation just because, you know, I had family and I had kids, and I could not have them be a part of that. He wasted a lot of his life. He could have done something. He could have stopped going to prison. He could have helped himself. But there was always this thing that he just couldn't stop. I'm sure everyone that knows him is wondering the same thing. Did he have it in him? Did he do it before? Did he do it again? It's a big question. There was a lot of evidence against him. I don't know. He's reached out. We have spoken a couple times. I can't afford to put my feelings inside of it. I have to keep going, and I can't get you out. Like, there's nothing anyone can do. You know, I could go and visit him. I could talk to him on the phone, but to talk to him about everything he'd done in life and to me, no, that's still a challenge for me. I think there was a little bit of part of me that just, you know, was thinking, like, how could you do that? You know, I just don't want to be a part of you anymore, you know? I was done. There are a lot of victims there, not just with this case, all the other cases before. Think about how many families victims that he's just destroyed and devastated. Being a brother is someone you look out for, you protect, and you educate them and help them grow up. Teach them the right and wrongs of life. That's what being a brother is.
Did Lance do any of that for you?
No, Lance did not do any of that. He did all the opposite of everything I just mentioned. The things he did were definitely wrong, and they can never be forgiven. There is no fixing that. I would not want to see harm come to him, but he's definitely where he needs to be, paying for his crimes. I feel like I'm able to move through life pretty good because of all of the stuff that I've been through. And the stuff that Lance did kind of shook me to my core. It made me realize I better get myself together or I might end up in the same position one day. That I can be better than that in life, and gave me a goal to go after to make me the person who I am today.
Tragedies, already imagining themselves as the next famous confession. Some didn't know I was the taxi confessor. The anonymity held strong, but they sensed something in the air around me, like I was a container for unspoken things. One man sat down and immediately said, "Can I tell you something I've never told anyone?" My heart kicked. My recorder blinked red. I said, "Of course." And that became the rhythm, night after night, truth after truth, sin after sin. Athens wasn't a city anymore. It was a choir of suffering, and I was the conductor. There's a moment, a dangerous one, when indulgence crosses into addiction. For me, it was the night I stayed out until sunrise, searching for a confession I could feel in my bones. Nothing satisfied me anymore. Drunken arguments felt shallow. Tearful admissions felt predictable. I wanted the rare ones, the ones that pulsed with shame, longing, conflict, the ones that felt holy. I remember circling around Exarchia at 4 a.m., desperate, thirsty for meaning, the way addicts thirst for the next hit. A man finally entered the taxi, sweating, shaking, muttering apologies to no one. He'd stolen something small, something stupid, but the guilt was eating him alive. He begged me for advice. I gave him none. I only listened and recorded. When he left, I sat alone in the car, breathless, pulse racing, feeling the high of having captured something raw, trembling, fragile. That was when I realized I wasn't just indulging. I was consuming people, their stories, their shame, their pain. I devoured all of it, and I justified it with one thought. If the world learns from this, then nothing is lost. But things were being lost. Pieces of my integrity, pieces of my empathy, pieces I didn't notice disappearing until later, much later, when it was too late to gather them back. My inbox filled with messages from producers, radio hosts, journalists. A major company wanted to license the show. A newspaper wanted to profile me. People speculated, who is the taxi confessor? A writer? A psychologist? A priest? I laughed, short, sharp, bitter. If they knew the truth, that I was just a taxi driver with a cheap recorder and an inflated ego, they'd be disappointed. Or maybe impressed. I didn't care. Their curiosity fueled me. I embraced the mystery. I fed it. I became the invisible man holding everyone else's truth. The fame wasn't public, but I felt it like a drug in my bloodstream. I walked through Athens differently, lighter, taller, electrified. I looked at strangers and wondered what secrets hid behind their eyes. I felt entitled to those secrets. The indulgence wasn't just in the recording, it was in the ownership. And through all of this, one voice haunted me. Hers, the woman in the rain. The one who asked me to drive without destination. The one whose confession had made the world stop and listen. Her voice lingered in my ears like a ghost, soft, fractured, beautiful in its sorrow. Sometimes, when I was editing, I'd play her raw recording again. Not for the show, not for work, but because hearing her pain made me feel connected, needed, trusted. It was wrong. I knew it. I didn't stop. Instead, I built episodes around the emotional imprint she left behind. Every time her story surged in popularity, I felt the heat rise in my chest, pride mixed with something darker. Indulgence had become intimacy, not with her pain, and that was the deepest corruption of all. My subscriber count exploded. A major Greek station offered to syndicate the show. A foreign journalist emailed, calling it Europe's most honest podcast. My taxi became a confessional booth. My life became a stage. My ego became a furnace. And in that heat, I didn't feel the warning signs burning at the edges. Didn't feel the ground shifting beneath me. Didn't feel the storm gathering. Because intoxication blinds you. And I was fully intoxicated. By their voices, by their secrets, by my own reflection in the growing success. I was untouchable. I thought I was untouchable. But every indulgence reaches its limit. Every high meets its drop. And mine was coming. Fast, brutal, inevitable. The fall didn't arrive like thunder. It arrived like a vibration in my pocket. 3 missed calls. 2 messages. Unknown number. I ignored them. I was editing. Her voice, that voice, was open in my timeline. I was shaping a breath, smoothing a tremble, polishing the crack of heartbreak like it was gold. Then another vibration. Another. Annoyed, I answered. Hello? A pause, a breath. A silence so sharp it pricked my skin. Then, I heard my voice. Just 3 words. I froze. What? I tried to laugh. It came out thin. I think you have the wrong... No, she said. Calm, precise. Too calm, too precise. I heard my story, she continued. On your podcast. My stomach dropped. She cut me off. Stop. 1 word. Hollow. Heavy. Final. You changed my name. You masked my voice. But I know myself. I know what I said that night. I know what I gave you. Her breathing shook. Not weak. Restrained. You recorded me without consent. My mouth dried. My throat tightened. I opened my window, trying to breathe. A siren wailed somewhere outside. Footsteps echoed from the apartment above. Athens moved normally. My world didn't. I want to meet, she said. Why? My voice cracked. Because this can't stay in the dark anymore. Then she hung up. The next morning, the lawsuit hit. Not a rumor, not a warning. A formal notice delivered to my building. I stared at the envelope as if it were a bomb. It felt like one. My hands shook as I opened it. Her name printed in black ink. She wasn't anonymous anymore. Not to me, not to the court. Not to the version of myself I'd pretended to be. Violation of privacy, unauthorized recording, emotional harm. 3 lines, each a blade. I sat on the floor, legs numb, lungs tight.
heart drumming the rhythm of panic. I'd known this day could come. I'd just convinced myself it wouldn't. Because ambition creates a selective blindness,